I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a
So
sexy
what we're
body
gonna do
feel
here is much like what we did when the last time he had to run to the store, and we did the ambient story. So this will just be its
Okay.
own little extra bullshit for whatever it is we want to ramble on until Mike gets back. So, um, uh, turd knives.
I'm the wrong guy to talk about that
I
shit
know. I'm
with.
just like, what the fuck was that? Okay, so let's talk about air fryers and why the fuck Joe is so angry at air fryers. I don't understand why he had that rage. It was insane.
Because because it should be what it's supposed to be. I guess is his thought process. If you wanna cook something in the oven, cook it in the oven. If you want to fry something, you put it in a fryer. You don't make a miniature oven and call it an air fryer.
And I
Because that's
kind of,
all it is. Is most people miss it is because that's what I do for a living. 'Cause I'm a chef, so
yeah,
it's a
obviously,
convection oven. It's a miniaturized convection oven. Is
yeah,
all it is.
yeah,
And so that's his argument is it's not a fryer. You're not frying anything. You're cooking with hot air, which is convection
yeah.
cooking.
It's a tabletop convection oven.
Yeah, convection. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think his thing is it's a misnomer,
it,
and
that that's
it's just
very true.
it's one more piece of equipment on the counter that's not necessary because now that you can get convection ovens in your home if that's what you want.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
he
I
he's
get it
he's not
like his
wrong.
extreme like I don't think he's really that extreme about it. That's part of
No,
his personality is to
but he
push it to that
definitely
level.
he got so excited about that.
Yeah,
Like, and
I love I when Joe gets excited when he laughs, like when
yeah.
he really gets into like his belly laughs, those are some of my favorite moments.
So when we inevitably get Joe on to talk about Gurren Lagann, we have to bring up air fryers as an extra just to talk to him about it because it's like I just want to be like Pinker just said, that point on the diagram where the air fryer touched you or burned your hand.
Yeah, where it is.
But like okay, I've never
He
used
said
one.
one time he had a fire in his house from a portable grill. I
That
guess
makes
him and his
sense
wife.
though. That makes
Him and
sense
his
though
wife
because
do like the what do they call that? The where they do the pot cooking. It's kind of
yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
shit, like fondue type thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen that.
Um,
Yeah.
and it caught on fire. So he doesn't hate those, and those actually almost burned his house down. He had to go all super fireman Joe on it and put a fire out and stuff.
And I
So
guess that like
I don't know if he hates it as much as it just annoys him that it exists.
yeah, having a redundant thing makes sense.
Mhm.
I do understand that because I've actually told the wife that certain utensils we don't need because it is that way.
Mhm.
And we already have a buttload of stuff that is put away in the cabinets. Like I got her a waffle maker for her. What was it? I guess for Christmas I got her a waffle maker and or a waffle iron I should say, technically speaking.
And it's
And
been used
like
twice.
huh? Technically, yeah, yeah. Actually, I was using back to back on a few days, but like, well, we also don't
Yeah.
eat pancakes that often, So if I went and
Well, as
bought
a waffle maker, you don't want to eat pancakes.
yeah, but I'm saying like if I'm going that far, I'm either going to be making waffles or pancakes, right? You can do a few things with that batter solution, so you're going to go one or two ways
I
for
don't put this
breakfast.
flour and milk together. We're doing something here.
Yeah, this is well, I mean, I use the what is it called? The
Bisquick,
Kodiak. No, I use Kodiak, so
Kodiak.
I like the protein powder in there. And now they actually have so many different types, like chocolate and all kinds of other flavors, so you can really, so that way you don't have to add your own shit that might fuck it up. The last time I made pancakes with it, though, I like nailed it. Like I have some trouble like either getting the temperature right or making sure the mix is exactly right because you don't want to overmix your pancakes. But I perfectly fucking nailed it. And I didn't bring out the griddle, which is also like basically a not George Foreman, because normally I pull,
I know
well,
what you're talking about. You're talking about the electric griddles. I know what you're talking
yeah.
about.
So, well, I mean, it's the one that sandwiches, so it's a panini press if you flip it the other way, but otherwise you lay it out
Gotcha.
completely and now you got a double decker griddle, right? So normally I pull that out when
Gotcha.
I do pancakes or anything or burgers or stuff like that. This time I just went with my normal non-stick skillet and like a little bit of Pam, and the pancakes came out fine. And in my brain I went, do I even need that fucking thing anymore? It's like I just made perfect fucking pancakes right here. Now I couldn't make as many as I wanted to. I couldn't do 4 at a time, because I wanted them to be decent size. I ended up doing 2 at a time because you also don't want to overcrowd your shit, you know.
Yes.
But like,
give it room to breathe.
yeah, but I mean, like I had the exact right temperature, I guess, so they were cooking fast enough, but not so fast that they were burning but not cooking fried. You know, it was just one of those things. You know, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But then like, I don't know. That's where my brain, like in this argument with Joe, it's like, now do I have a redundant thing? It's like, now I need an excuse for if I'm going to use this. So like when I make instead of making straight up meatloaf, I make patties now because I
Make
like to
like
be
a
able.
burger meatloafs.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
you know, I do the whole mix and then that, and I was using that griddle panini
Burger
press thing.
former thing.
Yeah, well, not even that. I was just using that to cook because I could also, you know, close it and it's now cooking both sides at the same time.
Both
But
sides.
it made such a greasy fucking mess, even with the drain thing. I was like, I got tired of fucking having to clean all that shit. Whereas if I do it in my 12-inch fucking high side skillet, I can do 3 or 4 at a time, and the later ones are actually now getting slightly deep fried in the fat from the previous ones. So like to get technically better over time, especially when I put chorizo in there and I get that extra little fat come out of there. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot.
Nice.
You know, I don't fuck around when it comes to meatloaf. I'm putting some good shit in there.
See, I'm gonna tell you, when I do meatloaf, like actual meatloaf, like for the house, like it was my grandfather's not recipe, maybe it might be like common somewhere, but I've never had it I've never heard of anybody doing it this way, but he did it.
Tell me, sir.
And so you're making your meat mixture and you season it how you want it. And you have your egg in there and you use no breadcrumbs. What he would do is he would pop a couple cans of Hormel corned beef hash and blend that into the meat mixture. So
Okay,
your potatoes
dude,
work like your breadcrumbs.
let me pause you for 1 second though. I had fucking corned beef hash omelet this morning at House of Pies.
Corned beef hash is my shit, dude.
Dude,
corned beef hash is my
virtual
shit.
high five.
Yeah, high five.
Dude, the wife never understood.
I put yellow mustard on it. Not
yes.
a lot of people do,
yes.
Okay.
No, it needs it. It needs it. Even if you have regular corned beef on a sandwich, it's mustard. You gotta have fucking mustard on it.
I like mine to have a crispy bark on it. I want it really hard fried on one side, and then you flip it over and just let it heat up on the bottom.
I shit you not. I was gonna text you this morning and ask you, do you do corned beef hash crispy or not? I was legit going to fucking text you that this morning.
Yes,
it has to be.
It has that.
All right, Mike's back when we're talking food. You got to have that nice bark on the one side, and then you cook it just enough on the other side, and you put your egg or whatever you're going to throw on top of it. Yeah. Fuck yeah. But I've never... Okay, so continue with the meatloaf recipe, because I've never heard corned beef hash in meatloaf.
Yeah, and then he would do his vegetables. He usually just used red and green peppers, red or green. He'd switch either way. Or both, and then onions. But he would bulk chop them. He wouldn't cut them up real fine. He'd leave them big. And I asked him one time why he did that. He's like, because if you don't like it, it's easier to pick out. And it doesn't mess up the whole meatloaf. You don't have to terrorize your meatloaf to get it out. You can just pull one piece out and still have a meatloaf.
See, as a kid, I used to pick all the onions and peppers out of there because my dad would leave it in big enough chunks. But for me, when I do onions and peppers in it, I actually buy the frozen fajita mix, which is already bell peppers and onions
already chopped up.
They're already chopped, but I actually go really fine with mine. And then I also I'll pre-cook the onions and peppers in the skillet with some salt, pepper, lime juice, and then I'll throw it in. I'll throw it in there for the acids.
I do mine with
so good.
I do mine with minced garlic. I'll do mine with a little bit of minced garlic.
Yeah. I usually do garlic powder, and I'll throw minced garlic. Actually, I've been putting the crispy garlic and oil in my actual meatloaf mix instead of doing it in the pan like that.
You use tomato paste?
I don't know.
No, I haven't got
no tomatoes in mine.
Yeah, I haven't got there yet. I changed his recipe. I do the fine chop too because I also do the same thing. I saute them first and then let them cool, and I put them on a paper towel and let them cool and get all the extra grease and stuff off of them.
Yeah, because otherwise it adds too much liquid. Yep.
Yeah, and it makes it soft and falling apart. So then I mix that into my meatloaf, and then when I make my loaves, I cook it off about 3/4 of the way through, and then I pull it out and I put a barbecue sauce on top.
Yes. I made the mistake of putting it on first. I made the mistake of putting it on first, and that burned barbecue sauce is not a good
And I'm
smell.
going to tell you, you now, because you agree with me, about the corned beef hash.
Mm-hmm.
The trick I learned later as an adult that I now do different to his corned beef or his meatloaf was I chop the vegetables finer and pre-saute them.
Yeah.
But then I also use Cattleman's Carolina Tangy Gold barbecue sauce, which is a mustard-based barbecue sauce.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
you
say,
get
yeah.
the mustard,
Ooh.
you get the barbecue sauce, and that's what I base the top of my meatloaf with.
All right.
I've
And
never
then
heard of that.
So
you
just
get that on there, and it gets that flavor down in there with the corned beef. But then
Mhm.
right at the very end, I flip my oven over to broil, and I
Yeah,
let it sit
get
for
it
about
crispy
two
on
and a
the
half
top.
minutes on broil.
Yep.
And that mustard will brown off some on the top
Mhm.
and turn into almost like a syrup, like a
Dude.
very sticky syrup on top of it. And boom, let me tell you, I will eat that meatloaf for days.
Okay, so I've actually made a barbecue sauce mixture very much like that. I've actually taken the mustard, the ketchup, other barbecue sauce, actual barbecue rub, put all that shit together and basted the loaves with that. But the other thing, so I'll tell you how I do mine, and everybody does meatloaf a little bit different. So I do usually full pound of ground beef, 80/20. With whatever breakfast sausage, depending on how much I've got. Like I had 3/4 whole pound, so 3/4 pound, and then I basically did half a pound of breakfast sausage in there, 1 egg, about half a cup of milk, because it's a good binder, and then probably almost a full cup of panko breadcrumbs. Sometimes I'll season it ahead of time with barbecue rub and garlic salt.
Do you use the plain breadcrumbs, or do you use like the Italian breadcrumbs and all that shit?
No, the straight up Japanese panko ones, whatever.
Gotcha.
So flavorless, I guess, technically speaking.
Yeah, I got you. What you're talking about.
Yeah,
Like the ones they do the tempura batter.
exactly. It's the super fine breadcrumbs. Yeah, and I will say I ran out of them one time, and I actually used the like Idahoan mashed potato mix for that reason, because I knew they would basically turn into that exact reason. So it's funny you said that the potatoes and the corned beef hash act like that. So I do all that stuff, but then I'll do splash of ketchup, good splash of mustard, either spicy or regular, some type of barbecue sauce or hot sauce, just depending on what I've got on hand or what I want to use. And then this last go around, I use my N.Y.M.I.A barbecue rub. Really fucking got that in there. But the last one, I used a sweet heat barbecue rub that I put in the thing along with the other wet and dry mixes. And then I also did the outside. So after I formed the patty, I dust the bottom side of it with the rub, put it down, and then dust the top of it with it. So the rub itself was baking.
That's the thing I meant to say too.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I put the barbecue on the bottom of the pan too. So while it's the meat's sitting there, so you have the barbecue. The whole thing is pretty much enveloped in barbecue sauce.
Yeah. So one thing I started doing when I make burgers like that from scratch, I'll also do, and I learned this from, I think it's In-N-Out. You
Butter?
actually put mustard. You actually put mustard down under the patty.
Kind of mustard.
Yeah, yellow. So
so
basically it's like cooking that first side in the mustard, and then you flip it over.
Well, I thought you were talking about the butter thing. I was talking about is when you make before you make your patty, when you make your ball for your hamburgers, take a little pat of butter, like just cut a piece off a stick and jam it into the middle of it, and then form your patty around that. And when that cooks, it keeps your burger moist as fuck because it melts and runs.
I don't tend to have that problem of my burgers getting unmoist. Realistically,
well, that way you can cook them past like a medium. You can get up to a well done burger and still be moist in the middle.
Yeah, I try to do mine. I try to do mine medium at best, but the last time I didn't realize how big the fucking patties were, and they were definitely undercooked.
Still on the rare.
Still pretty. Yeah,
See,
exactly.
I tell everybody, I embarrass my wife. Because when we go to restaurants and stuff, and I'm gonna get a steak, I first, you get a feel of your waiter, your server, your waiter, waitress, whatever. And if they seem kind of cool and stuff, I ask, like when they walk away with our drink orders, whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna ask them, and she'll give me the yes or no. Because if they're cool, well, I'll say to them, they'll come back. I want my ribeye, and they'll be like, well, how would you like that done? And I say, if they're cool, I'll say to them, I like my steak like I like my pussy. pink with no blood. That's how I order my steaks at restaurants. Like,
That's
so
not
I,
embarrassing at all for your wife whatsoever.
she's practically a fucking saint. You
Yeah.
guys have no idea how much
We
she puts up with.
understand. Yes.
So
Oh my god.
this is still me slightly edited because this is being recorded to be played to the world. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In person, I'm way worse than this.
Now,
So
then when you order a burger, you say you like it like Hitler, charred on the outside, but definitely kosher in the middle.
Yeah.
no.
Yet still
Showing me your new
moist.
shorts, baby. They feel good. She got some new clothes today at Target.
Nice.
They look nice. They fit good.
Yeah.
So we managed to pick the right size.
Yeah, not too big.
That's impressive.
Nice.
So,
Always get too big.
so yeah, she did a little shopping for herself. While I went and got my toys, she got herself some
It's like
clothes.
house lounge.
That's it, man.
Wait,
That's
they
how it has
actually
to
have
be.
pockets
Everybody's
too,
got to be
right?
happy.
Nice.
Which actually brings me to something I was going to say earlier before we got into talking about meatloafs was if Joe hates air fryers, he'd hate to see my kitchen because I kind of leave my wife to do whatever with getting stuff for the house
I can't get that
because
turned off. You have to, like,
she doesn't fuck with me about my collectibles and stuff. So she's real cool about it. So I leave her be. So in my kitchen, I have a toaster sitting right next to a toaster oven that is also an air fryer with an air fryer on the other counter by the sink.
Nice.
So I'm like, it's just ridiculous. I low key say stuff. I'm like, do we really need this much stuff on our counters? I mean, this one thing does what both of those things do. And I keep trying, slow, but I don't push it too hard because she lets me get away with stuff. I let her slide. But if Joe hates air fryers, he'd hate my kitchen, dude, because they're on both sides. You can't get away from them motherfuckers.
See, I want to complain your kitchen. I want to play with. I want to play with your knives. I want to play with the air fryers. I want to do all the things.
Yeah.
I need. Okay.
Yeah, I got my knives here at the house. I keep ceramic knives. That's what I use. I have some nice ceramic knives because they're good for vegetables and stuff. It keeps them from browning.
Yes.
Because you're using.
Nice.
Most people don't realize the reason why your lettuce is browning is because you're using a metal knife on it. You're oxidizing the tips when you cut it. The liquid in the lettuce with the metal of the knife makes sense. On the end. Technically, the brown is actually rust on the end of your lettuce. And
okay. Now I get it. Yeah, well,
you see what I'm saying?
We're lazy. We don't chop our own lettuce, but that makes sense why it turns brown. Because we buy the pre-cut stuff.
So I use ceramic knives. You can't really sharpen them. I have a sharpening steel for some of my metal knives, but you can't really do that with the ceramic knives. You can get a fancy sharpener, God bless you. But it's just easier just to replace them. Like when it start to get dull a little, I just go buy a new one.
Yeah.
But I got my eyes on a really nice knife set. I used to have a really good knife set years ago, and I still don't know whatever happened to it. I mean, I had the cases for it and everything. But
so you don't know where the knives are? They just disappeared?
Yeah, like in all the moving and stuff, and I'm pretty sure my ex-wife has them probably, and she wouldn't know. She doesn't know how to cut a fart, let alone food. So I don't know what she's doing.
That's because women toot.
Yeah.
Toot.
Funny story. Okay. Funny story about that. So growing up, let me tell my sad story. My parents divorced when I was very young, so I was raised by my mom.
Lucky you.
And she, being a single parent, would work sometimes she's a nurse, but then she'd also pick up other jobs. And she very much took care of me. I was very not spoiled because I was a pretty good kid, but I never went without. If I said I wanted something, she would make it happen. And one of the things she would do is she would babysit. And I don't mean just like rando babysit. I mean like she was like an au pair, like a live-in nanny for people. And they were usually pretty wealthy people that she worked for. And this one couple, Karen and Lenny that we grew up with, their daughter Kara. Like Karen is she's one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet in your life, and she's very prim and proper as a lady. So when Kara was younger, I think I'm like 6 or 7 years older than Kara. So when Kara was younger, so I was maybe 10 and she was like 4, something like that. She would, she'd fart, we do. And she would say, sorry, she'd say, excuse me, I farted. And Kara would be like, you don't fart. You can't say that. Girls don't fart. So what she would started saying, and I still every once in a while I'd give my mom a hard time about it, is she would run around telling people, she's an adorable little 4-year-old. She would rip ass and she'd be like, Excuse me, I burped out my bottom.
I have legitimately heard that before in my life. I burped out the other end.
Nice.
So such a polite manner too. I burped out my bottom. I'm sorry.
That's so crazy, man. I'd never in my life heard some shit like that.
Okay, so I'm gonna say one last thing on that, and then we'll get back to the main show, as it were. Have you seen the video? It's probably on TikTok and everything else on Reels, whatever. It's a short little video, and it's this family flying into New York. They're on the airplane, you know, they're flying over the bay, and I guess the mom or somebody's videoing, and there's a Statue of Liberty, and she's like, "Oh, look, it's a Statue of Liberty. It's so awesome." And you hear one kid say, "Oh, look, the Statue of Liberty," and then you hear the other kid yell, "I gotta take a shit."
No, I've never seen that.
It's so goddamn funny, and it's not subtle. It's that emergency way that little kids let you know there's a problem, like way too
it
late.
doesn't sound subtle.
No,
Yeah, this turtle head is not popping. He's on his way out.
yes, but the fact that kid yells, "I gotta take a shit," not "Mommy, I gotta poop." It's, I gotta take
Look
a
at the turtle
shit,
head poking out here.
and it's a perfect
boom boom.
and it's a perfect pause. Like the mom or whoever, it's a perfect pause. Like she finishes her sentence and the kid yells, "I gotta take a shit."
That's
It's
awesome.
so goddamn funny. So we've done a lot of poop and shit and fart talk around here, but either way. So now we actually are gonna have like 2 extras this week.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats.